Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, members of the media, and thank you for coming through this morning, where the ANC Secretary General is going to give the ANC's reflections and perspectives and positions on a number of issues that are currently in our political, socio-economic environment. With that said, happening against the background of the promulgation by the President of South Africa about the BELA Act, the SG will reflect the ANC's position on that pronouncement. Over to you, SG.
Thank you very much, Mahlengi, members of the media. I'm here today with Comrade Phoebe, who's the chairperson of the ANC Subcommittee on Education and a member of the National Executive Committee of the ANC. We have convened this press conference to apprise the nation and reflect on a number of issues in the public domain. This we do as a culture and tradition of leading and connecting with the people as our movement remains rooted in society. We convene at a time of significant developments, the visits by the President of Nigeria, the President of Angola, Germany, and the handover of the G20 summit, presidency to South Africa. That saw the Secretary General of the United Nations gracing our shores. South Africa has carved itself a place in the world community of nations, forging diplomatic and economic relations and pursuing peace. South Africa has assumed its rightful place in the community of nations as the first African country to lead the G20 group of nations as president. This massive feat under the leadership of the ANC and the stewardship of President Cyril Ramaphosa is consistent with our quest for a better Africa and a better world. This important position augurs well for the economic development of Africa, promotion of global peace, solidarity, and sustainability, partnerships and collaborations for reciprocal benefit and mutual prosperity, inclusive multilateralism and a progressive internationalism, poverty eradication and end to starvation and disease, and the African Union Agenda 2063. We are on a growth trajectory with the international community interested in investing and forging ties within South Africa. The ANC congratulates the vanguard of the working class, the South African Communist Party, on its successful Special Congress. We shall continue to work with the Alliance in building the future of this country towards a better life for all. This also goes to the successful conference of the South African Student Congress as a strategic vehicle for free, quality, higher, and further education. The Basic Education Laws Amendment Act, the ANC welcomes the proclamation of the Basic Education Laws Amendment Act in its entirety. This marks a significant milestone in the ongoing transformation of South Africa's education system. This achievement follows years of rigorous consultations and reflects our unwavering commitment to ensuring equitable access to quality education for all South Africans in line with the Freedom Charter. The full BELA Act heralds a new era of inclusivity, addressing historical inequalities and affirming the rights of all learners to quality education. Measures such as universal access to grade R, the elimination of corporal punishment, centralized admissions, and equitable language policies dismantle remnants of apartheid-era practices. This is a victory for constitutional values and vision of a united, non-racial, non-sexist South Africa. We are aware of the anti-transformation pushback by forces opposed to change, nostalgic of the apartheid-era past, majority rule and superiority of one language over the other. Failure to address this will be a betrayal of the generation of 1976, who rejected Afrikaans as a medium of instruction, thus relegating the majority to secondary citizenship and lack of identity in their country of birth. We denounce baseless fear-mongering by those who oppose these progressive changes, seeking to entrench outdated language hierarchies and exclude the majority from education opportunities. The ANC remains resolute in building an education system rooted in equality and inclusivity, ensuring that no child is left behind. This act is congruent with the right to education, language, culture, the recognition and respect of linguistic and cultural communities, and diversity as entrenched in the Bill of Rights. We commend the bold steps taken by President Ramaphosa by signing this into law and for calling for its immediate implementation. The Department of Basic Education should therefore move swiftly to finalize norms and standards to guide governing bodies, SGPs, and provincial heads of department. Indeed, the doors of learning and culture shall be open to all as advocated by Freedom Charter. The Government of National Unity, clearinghouse, engagement with other political parties on this very important matter has also been important and a really test of our coming together and notwithstanding our diversity and differences. The signing of this bill is a demonstration that we are in a government of national unity, but not a meltdown or a melting pot where we agree on everything. And it is an affirmation of the correctness of our position that we need to work together as a country, as political parties, irrespective of ideological background. Other people chose not to come to the party, to come to the government of national unity as a tactical intervention post the election. We congratulate all political parties who continue to work together in this government of national unity with the ANC as the largest political party in the government of national unity. The ANC extols the government and EXCOM for achieving 289 days without load shedding since 26 March 2024. This milestone, driven by the Energy Action Plan and robust leadership by the Minister of Electricity and ESCOM board and management, is a positive step towards the stabilization of the national grid. We are a government at work. We are a government to be trusted, and trust must be earned. ESCOM has used the December summer break to intensify maintenance efforts, with over 8,000 megawatts undergoing plant servicing. These interventions have not only improved reliability, but also laid the foundation for a seamless electricity supply in the new year. However, we note with concern the utilities' 55 billion rand loss reported in its latest financials, underscoring a need for a sustained turnaround strategy. Illegal connections and infrastructure damage remain challenges that require societal collaboration and strict enforcement measures. The ANC calls for the fostering of a culture of payment for services to enable Eskom and municipalities to meet their mandates effectively. We urge collaboration between Eskom, municipalities, and all stakeholders so that we contribute to alleviate the high cost of living and burden on consumers while maintaining momentum for economic growth and job creation. The ANC welcomed the decision by Botswana's new administration, led by President Duma Boko, to lift its ban on importing South African fruits and vegetables. This positive development will strengthen South Africa's agricultural sector and strengthen regional trade relations. Historically, Botswana accounts for 15% of South Africa's vegetable exports and remains a vital and strategic trade partner. This decision reinforces the value of mutual cooperation and good neighborliness in promoting sustainable economic growth and food security by supporting the agricultural sectors in both nations. The ANC condemns the recent acts of gender-based violence and femicide in KwaZulu-Natal and other parts of the country. These highlight the ongoing scourge of violence against women and children in our society. These acts undermine human dignity, especially women and children, as the vulnerable sector of society. We call on men to show courage by speaking out, seeking help for emotional struggles, and rejecting violence as a means of resolving conflict. The ANC is committed to supporting survivors, ensuring justice for victims, and working with communities to eradicate GBV and supporting families. This fight requires collective action from all sectors of society. We must reiterate there is no space for violence in our society. The ANC is humbled by the trust shown by the people in the recent by-elections, where we registered significant victories. Winning Ward 7 in Northern Cape from the DA grants the ANC full control of Hantam municipality, marking the third municipality regained since the 2021 local government elections. Similarly, in KwaZulu-Natal, the ANC successfully secured Ward 2 in Msunduzi from Inkatha Freedom Party. We registered a resounding victory in Skukuni by 71%, up from 37%, winning it overwhelmingly from economic freedom fighters and some new arrivalists. These victories underscore the resilience and commitment of the ANC to serve South Africans. The ANC grows by day. We thank the voters for their trust and our volunteers for their tireless efforts. The ANC reaffirms its commitment to delivering on its promises and calls on all public representatives to serve the nation with integrity and dedication. Preparations are underway for the ANC's 113th anniversary celebrations and January 8th rally scheduled for 11 January 2025 in Khayelitsha, Cape Town. The anniversary will strengthen ANC's connection with people of the province, celebrating the resilience, culture, and contribution of the diverse people of the Western Cape. It will spotlight shared struggles and the urgent need to address the stark inequality between Cape Town's affluent areas and its impoverished communities. The ANC welcomes the Constitutional Court ruling in the residence of Bromwell Street, Woodstock, against the city of Cape Town. The ruling reinforces the commitment of our nation to undo the spatial legacy of the past, with the city of Cape Town, according to the court, placing greater emphasis on gentrification rather than spatial justice. It called the actions of the city unconscionable when residents have occupied their homes for generations, having survived apartheid forced removals. The ANC's 113th anniversary is a sign of its resilience in the face of setbacks and progress, as the oldest liberation movement on the continent. This resilience finds expression in the ANC's ability, in the face of severe headwinds and storms, to continue to renew and find solutions to the pressing problems of the country. The anniversary will once again see the conferment of ANC awards to its best performing branches, as well as branches of the leagues. The awards, named after patriots and icons such as Sol Plaatje, Charlotte Maxeke, Z.K. Matthews, and Anton Lembede, will be given to branches who exemplify the renewal of the ANC and its connection with communities, with young people, and with women. At this anniversary, the NEC will also confer the highest honor in the movement, Isthwalandwe Siaparangwa, which was first awarded at the Congress of the People in 1955 to Chief Albert Luthuli, Father Trevor Huddleston, and Yusuf Dadoo. 70 years later, Isthwalandwe remains a tribute to the sons and daughters who made outstanding contributions to the country and the movement. The rally will reflect on the ANC's achievements while reaffirming its commitment to tackling poverty, unemployment, and inequality. Together, we'll chart a path toward a united, democratic, non-racial, non-sexist, and prosperous South Africa. The January 8th statement will coincide with the 30th commemoration of the passing of Comrade Joe Slovo on the 6th of January, and the commemoration of the 70th anniversary of the founding of the Freedom Charter on the 26th June 2026. These are no mean feats. They adorn journey-spanning years of the struggle for democracy, freedom, and justice, hence our commitment to defend the Constitution and advance freedom. The ANC notes the government's response to the water crisis facing the country in Gauteng, Eastern Cape, and other provinces. The ANC calls on all spheres of government to prioritize resolving this problem and investing in water infrastructure and maintenance. We appreciate the maintenance and upgrading of water infrastructure, which had adversely affected the supply of water. The ANC will continue in investing in people by providing basic services to communities. The numbers in terms of accidents are rising. The ANC is gravely concerned by the rise in road fatalities since the launch of Arrive Alive campaign in December. We once again appeal to the motorists and pedestrians to use our roads responsibly. We urge the transport authorities and law enforcement agencies for stricter measures to stop the carnage. The law enforcement agencies must be out in full force to arrest and prosecute the transgressors. We also call on those traveling with children to ensure that they are safely secured. The loss of one life is one too many. Despite the conclusion of 2024, the challenges of 2024, the ANC has listened to the citizens' concerns and voices. We have upped the game and increased the pace in addressing several challenges. As a result, we see the prioritization of ease in doing business, compliance with the respect of all, and in particular informal business initiative, trade relations within Africa, improving governance and delivery through departments, local government, and state-owned entities reducing backlog in government, departments, and enactment of transformative legislation. The ANC calls on all South Africans to join us in embracing progress from the transformative BELA Act to energy stability, the quest for economic emancipation, and the fight against gender-based violence. We welcome President Ramaphosa's announcement on Reconciliation Day that the process towards the national dialogue in 2025 is on track to ensure all South Africans contribute to the direction of the country and its pressing challenges. Together, let us build a better future that upholds the values of liberation and ensures equality, justice, and opportunity for all. We wish all a blessed and joyful festive season. Let us share with the needy, drive and drink, don't drink and drive on the roads. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Comrade SG. At this point, I will take questions. And some of the questions, the SG may direct them to Comrade Phoebe Potgieter. I will start with SABC and then come to UFM. Please go ahead.
Thank you. Something is coming up from SABC News. Mr. Maluba, the media created an impression that this is a win-win situation for both the major partners of the GNU, being the ANC and the DA. Is that also the ANC's position, or is the DA saving face on this issue? On the norms and standards, that essentially is to create consistency with public schools across the country. So practically, when could we expect, I think the contentious issue is those Afrikaans medium schools, when can we expect those first cohort of English-speaking learners or Zulu-speaking learners, whatever the case may be, to enter those traditional, well-resourced Afrikaans medium schools? And then, of course, the issue of Ms. Dobelo speaks to violence being normalized in South Africa. The country recently just platformed a musician that had allegations of abuse surrounding them. What is the ANC doing as a member of the Government of National Unity beyond condemning gender-based violence to truly take this fight against the scourge of violence against women in this country to another level where there's actually consequences for the level of violence that we see in this country? And then lastly, for Ms. Potgieter, the issue of mother tongue, of course, there have been many fears, specifically from Afrikaans-speaking communities, as to whether the transformation of those schools will result in the language, I guess, fading away from those schools. Is it correct interpretation that in practicality, if a school was an Afrikaans medium school and you had learners from different languages, that the department would be expected to add classrooms and teachers in those specific schools, and that wouldn't affect the standard or already what is set in that Afrikaans medium school, if we're speaking of that example? Thanks.
Thank you very much. My brother over there.
Morning to you, Mahlani and the SG, and Tutu is my name from Modelands. Gender-based violence. There've been talk for many years till to date. Women in the country, they are under attack. In Klavini, they are continuing to do what they are doing. And as that we've been talking, and the government putting resources to address this, do you think, SG, is this enough? And then from now going forward, how is going to be handled this thing? Because it's keep on happening. It doesn't stop. Until it happened to who, then it will stop. And second one, on the SACP, SACP with this position in terms of going solo with elections. Normally, as your alliance, SACP, when it comes to campaigns, you always go together, working together, holding hands during the campaigns. So now you'll be passing each other, and some of the SACP members, they are having a dual membership. So how is it going to be addressed, or how is it going to be handled when that takes place in terms of the campaigning SACP? So for now, I'll stop at that one.
All right, thanks a lot. I will take ANC.
All right, thanks, Muloko from ANC. In terms of the norms and standards and regulations that ought to be developed, do you have confidence that, given the fact that that process will be championed by a DA member who is a Minister of Education, one who snapped the signing ceremony of this bill into an act as it is today? I'm asking this question in the context of the statement that was issued by the DA leader, John Steenhuisen, in reaction to the proclamation by the President yesterday, because he keeps emphasizing in the statement that it is the DA minister who will be leading that process. Do you believe that she will approach this process in a manner that will be in the interest of one and all, primarily because she did not agree with this, her party did not agree with this. But secondly, how do you see, considering the fact that power is in terms of the BELA Act, is going to be constituted within the provincial heads of department? Take the Western Cape, for instance, where the DA is governing. Do you anticipate perhaps some incongruence in terms of how the Western Cape will be dealing with that process as compared to other provinces? Lastly, was the Khayelitsha Stadium the first choice of the ANC? Because I understand that, and correct me if I am wrong, I understand that you initially wanted the DHL Stadium and you did not succeed there. What were the reasons, if indeed DHL was your first preference for the January 8 celebrations?
Thank you very much. I will, at this point, turn to the panel. SG, I will suggest that Comrade Vivi comes first to respond to that particular question, and then we'll take the SG.
Thank you very much, and good morning to everybody. On the BELA, I think that the real winner are the thousands of South Africans who made submissions. You know, SGBs from across the country, political parties, trade unions, citizens groups, communities. That led to Parliament passing, both the National Assembly as well as the NCOP, passing BELA in its current form. And this is why, despite the 3 months delay, the President has proclaimed the BELA in its entirety. So I think that it's a win for all South Africans, and that's certainly the approach of the ANC. I'm sure other parties will try and spin it, but it's our view that it's a win for all South Africans. The question about norms and standards and what it means for Afrikaans schools. If one look at the issue about mother tongue education, and it's something that's been going on for quite a while, since the 5th administration, the Department of Basic Education has begun to look at how do you extend mother tongue education beyond grade 3, which we have at the moment. This year, the introduction of science and some of the mathematics into grade 4. If you look at most other countries across the world, when they have mother tongue education, they tend to have it up till grade 8, grade 10, even up to grade 12. Because it's much better for children in terms of cognitive development to learn in their mother tongue and then learn a second or third language in their mother tongue. So, for example, if I take my example, I went to Afrikaans school because that's my mother tongue. I did Afrikaans up till matric. I went to UWC. We then had to switch to do in English, but I was able to cope because my cognitive development was in my mother tongue. So the question about the introduction of mother tongue is a really critical part of improving the quality of education, and I think that we agree that the Department of Basic Education, in terms of phasing in mother tongue education in all South African languages up to grade 12, is in the right direction. Now, whether it will mean the disappearance of Afrikaans as a language of instruction, one of the things that have happened during this 3 months is that the PAN South African Language Board met with the Afrikaner organizations, with political parties and other interested stakeholders. And they were at pains to stress that their responsibility is, according to the Constitution, firstly, to make sure that all, and we now have 12 official languages, as well as the Khoi and San languages, are protected. So Afrikaans shouldn't single itself out from other official languages because it's treated the same. In addition to that, the PAN-SALP also has the responsibility to look at languages that have been disadvantaged. And this is African indigenous languages have been disadvantaged because of apartheid. If you look at the Union of South Africa in 1910, the Union of South Africa recognized 2 official languages. It recognized Dutch and later Afrikaans and English, which means that for that entire period, these 2 languages were advantaged. And this is why it's important that we have to look at how do we push the development of our indigenous African languages, including the Khoi and San languages. Afrikaans is not going to disappear. It's one of the official languages. It's spoken by a broader community than just the Afrikaner community. And for them to isolate themselves, we think that is a problem, rather than to see themselves as part of that community of 12 South African languages. The final question with regards to BELA is about the norms of standards. Now, the development of norms and standards are normal because the law can't cover all of the details, and therefore it's a way of looking at how do you implement. We hear what the leader of the DA said, and the emphasis on the DA minister. But we also want to use this opportunity to remind them that the statement of intent talks about a commitment to the rule of law. Now, part of the commitment of the rule of law is that if I'm a minister, whether you're from the ANC, the PAC, or Rise Mzansi, you have to implement what is the law of the Republic. That's simply what it means. And this goes for all of the ministers in the Government of National Unity. And even if it wasn't on the statement of intent, you can't decide what you implement and what you don't implement. So we're certainly not worried that there will be delays. We think that the minister will do the right thing. Because that's what a commitment towards the rule of law means. Just to correct the issue, I mean, most of the Afrikaans schools have children from other communities already in their schools. What the BELA does and the provisions in BELA is to basically say that you can't discriminate against learners from other language groups because you are a single medium instruction school. So the norms and standards will then have to address the issues about what is the procedure that the head of department will follow if they find out that indeed there is a discrimination happen, and whether that is in Gauteng or in KZN or in Western Cape, the law applies the same across the country. You can't have a different rules or norms and standards for one part of the country and for the other part. And we will certainly request both the ANC study group on basic education. We will do that as a subcommittee of the NEC on education to make sure that those norms and standards are finalized as soon as possible and to push for that, but also look at, as the schools open at the beginning of next year, to be able to make sure that we don't have the discrimination. Because the reason why you have this provision in BELA is because over the last 30 years we've had numerous occasions where students were excluded from attending schools on the basis of language or other policies. And the courts have said to the department and to government, can you please make sure that the powers of SGBs as well as the powers of the department are clear? And this is what the BELA Act does. So we all look forward to the full implementation of BELA, because it has many clauses, the access to compulsory grade R, the diversity in terms of religion, in terms of dress, and all of those issues that we need to take forward. And we certainly look forward to making sure that quality education becomes a reality for everybody. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Comrade Phoebe. I would like to clarify a few things in relation to the questions that have been asked. One, in relation to the SABC win-win situation. There's no win-win situation. We put the BELA Act for 3 months for engagement. That's what we did. The Act has come to full cycle in terms of the law. We did that in the spirit of the GNU to engage with partners, and we're part and parcel of that. And henceforth, we want to thank everybody who took part in that particular process. It is not a compromise to say the minister must determine the norms and standards for language policy. South Africa's Schools Act of 1996 provides for this. It is a standard practice. So it's not something that cannot be done. So if the minister does not implement the decisions of government, in government, which have come full cycle in terms of the law, there will be consequences for that. And we don't think that we will get to that stage. At this present moment, all political parties in the clearinghouse have engaged and found each other, and the president have actually announced in this regard. So I think we need to make that particular point very clear. The people who have understood the terrain of the government of national unity as something else, we have always understood it in the ANC as a tactical intervention and not as a melting pot. We have understood that we are engaged in a process as a country with arch rivals, and so to say, with people that we don't agree with politically and ideologically. And it's not only the BELA Act, there will be other issues that we don't agree to. And we have actually said that those who occupy positions in the GNU will want to occupy those positions to demonstrate that they can do better. The ANC, with the largest party in the GNU, has got the responsibility to demonstrate to South Africans that we can do things and work for communities and deliver for communities. And that is what is really important for us. So the BELA Act there's been no doubt that our president is directed, and at the same time is a person with a vision of understanding what it means to work for unity in our country. So anyone who wishes to claim easy victories outside the proper understanding of where the ANC is going, it's just populism. Simple. There's not been any doubt about the terrain in our movement and the organization. So there are people who want to become superheroes and who become super revolutionaries. We allow them the space because the ANC ngugalele bhayini. But we have never been in doubt about this leadership and where it is taking us to, because it draws direction from the collective wisdom of our movement. The DA is doing what it's supposed to do as an opposition party. We can't, every time Helen Zille opens a mouth and speak, we run after her. She's doing what she's mandated to do from the point of view of their constituency. They organized a march there at Voortrekker Hoogte, a big march there, mobilizing their communities and all of that. It is them. It reflects on them, AfriForum and all of that. We stand for what we want to stand for, non-racialism and unity of the South African people. And that's what we stand for. We are for transformation, not for superior exclusion of one group at the expense of the other. Nelson Mandela said it from the dock: I fought white domination. And therefore I stand against black domination. We stand for non-racialism. That's what we stand for as the African National Congress. What other political parties do around us is what they do. It reflects on them. We will fight for what is right, transformation in this country, equality for all in our nation. And that is what we stand for as the African National Congress. So there's no confusion on our part. Political parties will speak for themselves and what they stand for and what they stand to gain from their own perspectives. But we stand for the people of this country, and the perspectives that we stand for are the perspectives that you don't change when the weather has changed and tomorrow you speak a different language. You stand for what you believe in, and our strategy and tactics is our guide in relation to what we are pursuing. That is why we have never been confused. That GNU can never be a strategic goal, it's a tactical maneuver. And if you say to us the DA have accepted to participate is a sellout position, then you are getting it wrong, comrades. That's what we have been saying. You are getting it wrong. From a point of view of just pure strategy and tactics, you are getting it wrong because it's a tactical maneuver. We didn't want to go for any of the options of coalitions. Coalition of grand coalition, coalition of minority governance and all of that. We went for a broader approach. And others decided not to participate in it. We've got 10 political parties that are part of this GNU. And others for political expedience and trying to attack the ANC ideologically have said that, no, this is a coalition between the DA and the ANC. We have not been bothered about that because we believe in the principle. And at the end of the day, what is that principle? Is a guide of the strategy and tactics. We are actually addressed by people who don't know what they stand for as political parties. People who just follow an individual, who follow a person and believed in a person. We follow time-tested strategy and tactics approach of the African National Congress. And that is what we believe in. It will live beyond Ramaphosa as our president to the next generation. It is refined from time to time, from conference to conference, in relation to how we adapt as a party, in relation to the conditions that we face. We do not believe to be in the position that we are in forever. We want to come back. We will rebuild the ANC to be a stronger party, and that is what we are embarking upon as an organization and what we are doing today. Gender-based violence, it's a community program. It starts with me and you. Somebody can be talking as a politician, as a businessman, but abusing a woman. The acts of violence and the killing we have seen are a shock to our nation. You sit with somebody here, tomorrow they wake up, he have killed his girlfriend or his woman, in terms of his wife and so on. So it's a societal issue that we need to attend to as families. We need to champion the cause. And as men, we must act as an example. We must also work on the upbringing of young men. There is a problem in terms of the upbringing of young men who believe that women are a possession, are an object, that you own a woman. It's a psychological problem. You don't own a woman. It's a problem of our society in terms of patriarchy, the dominance of men over women, and that the emancipation of women means freedom for women. It doesn't mean that a woman is a possession. When you buy a woman, your girlfriend and everything, a car and all of that, when the relationship comes to an end, you think that you own that particular person. It's not. Women are not a commodity. They are human beings. They give birth to us. We need to work on the psychology of men. When you give something to your girlfriend, you think that you hold it against her. Even if you come to disintegration, it's done. Gender-based violence is happening right among us, and is pursued by men. Still, namadoda. See it as it goes by gender-based violence. We believe that we own women. Women are a possession to us. It's a struggle that we must lead as the ANC, as a society as a whole. That's where we must come together, irrespective of political party affiliation. We must lead a struggle to conscientize young men. I've got a young man in my household. How that young man is going to grow up and become a man in society is important. It's important because he can grow up and become an animal when I'm no longer there and become something else that does not respect a woman and all of that, and think that a woman is a possession, is a commodity, is an object. I can do as I wish. When now you've got the right to do all the wrong things in life, a woman does not have a right to express her full potential in life. It's something he plompot or he chonga apparently. So we need to conscientize society. It starts with me and you. And the battle must be fought among our young men. That's where the challenge is. They kill women willy-nilly at the go. And that's what actually happens. So this struggle, those perpetrators must be brought to book, but over and above that, we must lead this struggle. As political parties, as human beings, as leaders, we must lead this particular struggle against gender-based violence. Mthunzi, the SACP and us is an ongoing engagement. We will engage on the issue of the SACP resolution. As the ANC, we have not taken any decision or reflected on this. We are going to do that. We are going to Cape Town, January 8. We believe in the alliance. The alliance was not brought together by personalities. It was brought together by a common program. called the National Democratic Revolution. And if today there is a decision like that, it's going to have an impact on the NDR. It's going to have an impact on alliance relations. Our political education department, David Makura, I assigned him a task and the department that by next year when we meet, I need a paper to be presented to the officials and to the NEC on the implications of this decision. We've got an appointment with the SACP in a bilateral. How is this going to happen? These are some of the questions we must answer. We don't believe in this thing of the party contesting ourselves. We don't agree with that. And when we met with them, we cautioned them against that. So we're going to engage on that with the SACP. ENCA, DA minister, yes, it's a DA minister leading, but in a government of national unity. So ministers do as government prescribe. If you don't implement an act, you will be dismissed by the president. And it doesn't, ministers behave the same. So you are not, when you are in cabinet, you are serving at the behest of the president. So I don't think we'll get to that particular situation. I think we'll move ahead and this will be done. Of course, there's been distortions in the media about the fact that this bill will not be implemented in its entirety. No, there's no such. There's no such. Fake news is trafficking. It's been trafficked all over social media platforms, WhatsApp groups, the most bored people, WhatsApp groups. They lie to each other with impunity. You know, they just lie. I saw something circulating about Comrade Mavuso. I mean, I said Matlengi and Comrade Mavuso must issue a statement on that. Just fabricating that Comrade Mavuso attacked the SG and the president. It doesn't work like that. That's the stalwart veteran of our movement. So I spoke to him this morning, and he was outraged. So they manufacture fake news on a daily basis. You know, they can just change your surname Mtunzi now and call you something. And then and it moves fast because it's holidays now. They drink on those WhatsApp groups. They get intoxicated and believe their own propaganda. So that's why I'm not a member of a WhatsApp group. So people send me these things and so on. So that's what happens. So Khayelitsha has been our first choice. We are going to Khayelitsha. We are not going to DHL. We are not going to Athlone Stadium. We are going to the township. That's where we are going. We are going to our people. We are going to our people to connect with our people, because we have realized in the last election that there will be no stronger ANC if it does not connect with its base. We are who we are because of the working class as the motive force, primary motive force of the national democracy. We are where we are because of our people. Our people do not abandon the ANC. They just don't go and vote. And they don't vote for other political parties. So we are going to celebrate January 8th, 113, with the people. We'll move from Khayelitsha Stadium to Rents. You know Rents in Cape Town? It's going to be happening. You are all invited. It's going to be a humdinger, like never been seen before. It's going to be a razzmatazz in Khayelitsha. It's happening. So all of us will be there in a week's time, 2 weeks' time, we'll be in Khayelitsha. So Khayelitsha has been the first choice. So I'm not going to stand here and tell you that we wanted Cape Town Stadium and George Hill refused. No, we never asked. Athlone Stadium, George Hill refused. No, we went to Khayelitsha from the onset. From the onset. So it's a decision, conscious, we have taken. We are going to Cape Town, and in Cape Town we are going to Khayelitsha. That's where we are going to celebrate 113 years of the African National Congress. And President Ramaphosa will deliver the statement of the ANC from Khayelitsha Stadium on the 11th of January. That's where we will be. So thank you very much, and we wish everybody a prosperous new year. Last question?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. When you started with your response, you said this is not a win-win. And maybe expand there, because the DA says it's a win-win, you say it's not. But secondly, it's been 30 years, and you were emphasizing now that you are for transformation and racialism and all that. The fact that those parties that agreed in the clearing house mechanism agreed that the act be implemented in its totality doesn't mean the constituencies, their constituencies in particular, those people who are marching it, doesn't mean they are happy. 30 years into democracy, and we still have within society people who would not be happy with this transformation. Where did we lose the plot? And I'm asking this because you always, as the ANC, pride yourself as leader of society. Could it be that at some point you missed the ball, and as a result you are now ramping up this legislation to say you will force it on people's throats?
No. This legislation was devised, agreed, adopted by government, and then by parliament, all right, in the 6th administration. The ANC today, tomorrow, and next week will continue with the transformative agenda. And we can point at many legislations we have passed in the 30 years which favor the disadvantaged and accelerating the transformation process. And there will be others that will come that will probably now not succeed because we don't have a majority. Okay? So, the ANC has always been at the helm of this transformation agenda, and that is why we said that transformation agenda have suffered a setback with the 40% rule now, because we have been weakened. It means we've got to work with others to get the transformation agenda going, and that is what that is where we are, and it can be blocked. And it can be blocked by others in the legislature. And we are confident of a victory at all times with the numbers that we have actually garnered as the ANC. It is the DA that says win-win. It is their characterization. There's no win-win there, because the DA didn't want clause 4 and 5 and all of that in terms of the act. So that did not actually happen. Now, we're moving ahead with the implementation, and that's what is important. So I'm saying it's not a win-win. I've clarified the issue of the norms and standards, that since 1996, it is normal that a minister will actually implement the norms and standards. And it is not new with Kwarube. It's something that is there in the Act since 1996 that the ANC have ensured that this actually happens, ANC government, and so on. Your second question was about?
No, it was more to say if we fail to persuade people, we just force this legislation.
No, we didn't force. We are a democratic. We understand we operate in a terrain in which we don't have a majority. We wouldn't have subjected this bill to this process if we were arrogant and we did not want to engage with others. We did, because there was a need to engage and come close to others, because there is no threat in this bill. It can only be a threat to racists. That's it. But from a point of view of non-racialism in this country, this bill is not, this act, not a bill, this act is not a threat to non-racialism, to a better South Africa, to a united nation. It's not a threat. It's not a threat. It just opened the doors of learning and culture to all. So those who want to preserve this system for a particular group or class only, they will oppose this bill. But this bill is victory to democracy, is victory to non-racialism, is victory to a united nation. and as victory to the GNU. So it's not, a win-win situation as it's defined, and I don't want even to get there, because they can explain that win-win for themselves and their constituency. I'm not in the business of speaking for the DA, and we are not DA, we are the African National Congress. But it is a disappointment, this advance by the President and his cabinet, to those who said that we're going around preaching as though things won't happen. Preaching as though things won't happen. Even within our ranks, there are people who are just on top of their voices. BELA Act must be implemented. There is leadership here in this country, led by Ramaphosa of the ANC. Why will others speak on the sideways as though there is doubt about leadership, that it won't be provided? It is wrong. It is populist. It is populist. And we will act against populism in the ranks of the ANC. We will. We are observing it. It is not plurality of ideas, intellectualism, dissent, genuine. It is populism. Why will any leader of the ANC not have confidence that matters of this nature are being handled and driven at a political level by the leadership of the ANC? When the President decided on this matter, leadership was provided, structures were briefed. Why now do we have to go on the sidelines that this must, as though there is doubt that the leadership will renege on the program of the National Democratic Revolution? Our mandate is very clear in this government, is to advance the NDR. Other forces and political parties, strategic opponents like the DA and other parties, the new arrivalists and all of that, will be opposed to the ANC. And we've got to navigate in that space from time to time. It's a difficult period for the movement. It's a difficult period for the ANC. It is a difficult period for the NDR, but we don't give up. We will use our 40% to advance the National Democratic Revolution, because 6 million people in this country said, we believe in the ANC that it can continue to govern, and it must govern and govern well. That's why we cannot afford mismanagement and all of those things that are happening in some of the municipalities and all of that. We must advance. The program of renewal is going to be heightened in the new year going forward. And that is how we are going to win the trust of the people going forward. So we are not in an arrangement or a marriage where we are bound to agree. No, we are not. We are not in a marriage. We are in a coalition called Government of National Unity. And Government of National Unity are not constituted by like-minded people world over. They are constituted by people who don't agree. And every time the DA says this and that, it doesn't shock us one way or the other. Thank you very much. And a Happy New Year and prosperous.
Just before you put it off, thank you, SG. I wanted to say we had a question from online. We had an important question that from Independent News Online. And the question is, Mr. Mbalula, based on the enactment of the Full Basic Education Amendment Act, are you confident that the government has enough resources to implement this law across all provinces, since KZN schools are currently not paid norms and standards? So, okay, that's rather unclear. Is the ANC aware of this debacle of non-transfer of norms and standards to KZN schools as per the law? Does this not compromise the quality of education for the poor black child in KZN schools? Second question is the ANC employee, MEC Hlomuga, MEC for Education in KZN, has he communicated the challenges of non-transfer of norms and standards to KZN schools, which includes non-procurement of textbooks and stationery in KZN for non-fee paying schools? With your permission, SG, I will request Comrade Phoebe to speak to that detail. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think it's a very important question from Independent, because part of the problem about the focus of BELA on this question about language is that it detracts from other issues that we need to address in education that's quite critical. The ANC Education Committee has been made aware through the MEC of the challenge with regards to the payment of the agreed upon norms and standards to KwaZulu-Natal. On our Education and Health Subcommittee, we also have representation from SATU, and they've also brought it to our attention. The Minister of Basic Education and the Deputy Minister have visited KwaZulu-Natal to attend to this matter and is in the process of engaging with National Treasury about the matter to look at how do we address it. Because KZN have the largest number of students in school, so both primary and high school, and this is part of the challenge that they face. That they simply didn't have enough money to be able to pay the norms of standards. And hence, on behalf of the Education Committee, as well as the issues raised by SATU and the MEC, there is this engagement between basic education and Treasury about how to address and alleviate the situation in KZN. We will be preparing for as the Education and Training Subcommittee for the opening of schools at the beginning of next year. The matric results will be announced at the beginning of the year, I think the 12th or 13th of January, but also the opening of schools. And this issue of making sure that KZN schools have textbooks, that the problems that they face in terms of financing are being addressed, and the committee is seized with that matter. But thank you very much for that question. I think it's really critical.
All right. Thank you very much, colleagues. With that, we are adjourned. And if there are any requests for one-on-ones, I will be able to take them from there. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.